Yeah, if I wouldn't yell at my mentee about it, I can't yell at myself about it. That actually, so I tend to use that as my thing, is like, if I wouldn't be mean to a friend about it, like I can't be mean to myself about it. What's the
What are we doing?
yeah.
Yeah, I feel you on that. There's so many times where I think about the amount of, oh, like Gio, you're like my therapist. Like you're so kind and you have such good views on, how to separate work and life and this. And but then the feedback I get, especially from my boyfriend who we live together, he's like, you're not good to yourself. You treat yourself like, and I'm like, I know. Welcome to another episode of Graphic Content, the podcast where we talk all things who, why, and what the moments along the way. Now, today's guest is a very special guest. She is a co founder of Pulse Law Firm, a corporate lawyer, and COO who thrives on building community and supporting projects with meaningful impact. When she's not solving problems at work, you'll find her exploring new places, experimenting in the kitchen, collecting gadgets, or hanging out with her pups, who you said maybe that they'd walk by, but if they do, I would love to meet them on screen.
Absolutely. They're bound to make an appearance.
Proudly embracing her inner nerd, she loves everything from Marvel movies to fantasy heist books, always seeking out the next adventure and the next big problem to solve. Welcome to Graphic Content, Irena Kramer.
Thank you, Gio. Really excited to be here.
Like I was saying before we jumped into the recording, I always feel like when I go to ask people that I admire their work. I look at them and I think like they're doing such amazing things. They have a story to tell. I would love to reach out to them. I sometimes get a little, I don't want to say gun shy because it's like not the right place to say, but like I just feel nervous asking people because I always think like they're gonna look at me and be like, no, but
Look, the worst people can say is no, and
yes.
that's not really that bad. So, but no, I'm really glad to be here and I'm really excited. I think you're the first person who's ever asked me to be on a podcast. I have been on podcasts only as a result of something like someone else sort of dragging me into them before, but that's about it. So,
So wait, explain that. So what do you mean you got dragged into it?
well, it's like someone's like, "Oh, we need another person to speak on this thing. Can you show up to that?"
Hmm.
Like professionally or that sort of thing. It's never been a personal invitation.
Well, I'm glad I could be the first.
I love it.
So how have things been? I know that you recently launched the law firm, and what has that
Yeah.
been like over the last few months?
So it's been pretty wild. The original business plan that we sort of proposed, so I launched with a partner, and the original business plan we proposed was kind of six people, two senior lawyers, two junior lawyers, and two staff, and that was kind of what we envisioned. So we had an office space in Kitchener-Waterloo that was up to 12 desks, and instead we have our 15th and 16th person starting on Monday.
Wow.
So it has been less than 6 months in. So it has been out of control, is what I would say. We have a small office now in Toronto for three of our people, and then everybody else is here. We're going to be moving to a bigger space because we are running out of space. So it's been great. It's been really busy. It's been amazing. It's been really fun. It's really fun to feel like you're in control of things and really exciting to feel like you can sort of decide how you want to do things and you don't have to placate anybody and you don't have to sort of argue about things or deal with stuff that you feel like doesn't matter. I'm really lucky that my business partner is the best and we get along really, really well. So we're just really aligned. And yeah, it's just crazy. It's nonstop. It's exhausting. It's like it's probably more work than I can sustainably do for a really long time. But that's why we're hiring more people. And I can't complain, right? Like it's a good problem to have when you have too much work. It just feels like the community and our clients and our friends have just been so supportive. I'm so grateful.
I feel you on that. I feel like when, if things are not busy, you always get that feeling of what am I doing? What are we here for? And then when that you kind of put it out there, and obviously you do good work, you're being referred to and etc. But then when you have all the work, it's like, oh shit, this thing that I've wanted, this thing that I've been building and that I've put out there is I've manifested it. I'm working hard, I'm bringing it to me. But then it's that, wait, how do I
Yeah.
manage this?
And you never know, like, I had a very different, professional experience than my partner who came up in very big law firms, and so
Mhm,
for him, this is the first time he's ever been at a smaller shop, whereas I have been at smaller shops, kind of medium-sized shops, big shops, and so for me, some of it's like, "Oh, yeah, this feels like it used to," but for him, it's all new, but you never really know how people are gonna respond, and you don't really know like, you think your clients are gonna come and you think people are gonna be supportive because 'cause they're so excited, but
mhm.
it's really hard to say, like, when the shine wears off 3 months in, are people gonna be as supportive? Are people gonna be as into it? And it just genuinely feels like a snowball that will not stop, like, rolling and collecting snow. We have been so lucky. People are just so excited, and I think this is something that I feel stupid saying it because, like, corporate law is not generally something that people find exciting,
Yes.
but people genuinely have been I think people wanted this. I think people want sort of a fresh look at things, and they want an opportunity to look at how they get their legal services and say, "Oh, hey, like there is a better way to do this. There is a more personable way to do it." So,
Even just knowing you, I feel like your approach is more accessible to everyday people. I said to you beforehand, like I have a business, but I'm not a business person. And so sometimes that world can feel overwhelming when I'm just trying to like wrap my head around it. And just having interacted with you now for I think about 6 months ish, your energy is not this scary I'm a lawyer energy. Like you're much more approachable, and I think that that helps lends itself well to shifting into a new direction when you're positioning your law firm as we are different from the rest.
yeah, it is a big part of it. We're trying not to lean too hard into that, but a big part of what we've talked about is sort of the bringing down of barriers with people and with how they get their legal services. I was the first lawyer in my family. Like I think I'm very mindful of. I've had friends call me and just say, "Hey, I have this question and I don't know who else to ask," right? And that's always stuck with me as like I never want to be a person who people don't feel like they can come to.
Mhm,
I want people to come to me and say I need help when they need help, and so I've been really lucky that this is a good opportunity to do that. And that's kind of the thing. We want people to pick up the phone because I don't want people to suffer. I don't want people to feel stressed. And maybe I'm not the person to help you solve it, but I'm sure I can find somebody that will help you solve it if that's what you need. So I think that we've been really it's just really nice to hear that that is actually resonating and that that's
mhm.
working because that means so much to us as part of of what we're doing, just that people really do benefit from what we're doing.
On that note, I am looking for legal representation. So
Oh,
I feel like I'm going to reach out to you after this on a non fun podcast related email.
fair enough. Yeah.
So I want to go back a little bit. Where did it come from, this passion for law? Like, where did that career path start to form for you?
Yeah, so it started with me watching too much of The Practice and Dylan McDermott as a kid. I'll be honest, that is kind of where it started. But no, but the long running joke is that lawyers don't. Law school's full of people who didn't realize as kids that when people said to you, "You should go to law school," that was an insult. Um, and so I've always been pretty competitive. I've always been pretty quick and like and I've always been a big reader, and my husband's also a lawyer. We met in law school, and we both identified that the biggest factor for job satisfaction in lawyers is people who read a lot as kids,
Mm,
like just read big books, those fantasy heist books, as I mentioned. But that's kind of the nature of the work. I like what I do. I like that I'm a corporate lawyer because I get to help. I didn't know I wanted to be a corporate lawyer. I actually sort of, you go to law school and you have to keep an open mind about what kind of law you want to practice because you really don't know what you're going to love and what's going to sort of fit with your skill set. And I thought I wanted to be a real estate lawyer after law school, and that did not work out. And I'm really grateful because corporate law, as it turns out, is a really good fit for me. I like that I help people build things. I like that I help people protect their businesses. I like that I help people sort of like grow what they want to grow. I don't go to court. I don't do litigation, so I don't do the fighting side of things. I mean, there's always conflict in law, and so there's conflict in what I do, but I like that generally speaking, we're conflicted about how we grow, how we move to the next step, how we do something, not we're conflicted about sort of what the end goal is. Like
right.
people want to grow something, and I get to see how I actually help people do what they want to do. It's cool.
You mentioning the argumentative piece as a child. So I can relate to that because I was always that kid that was like, you need to be in law because you always have something to say about everything. You always have a some quip about, whatever's going on. And
Yeah,
as a kid in a family, and your parents are like, can you mind your own business? Like, how? So I want to dig into that a little bit, like that
totally.
dynamic, because I just relate to it, so I can't
Yeah.
step over it. I know my experience, but like for you, like what what was that like as a kid?
I did not know this until recently, but I'm fairly sure that I have undiagnosed ADHD.
Hmm.
And that led a lot to that because I didn't understand that arguing with people over things was like a bad thing. I
Yes.
thought we were always clarifying things and trying to get down to the bottom of it. And so, like, it never crossed my mind that, like, you're just allowed to live in, like, not knowing, right? That wasn't and nobody sort of, and I was very determined and I'm very, like, and so, like, people just thought, yeah, sure, it's easier to just let her, like, have this one. So that was the reality of things. And I do think that it really fit really well with sort of how where I ended up, but it's tough when you're a kid and people don't realize that that's kind of what's driving
Hmm.
things. I felt like an oddball for a long time. I felt like I didn't fit in, so that was difficult. And it took me a long time. I think it's especially in law and like really traditional professions, people tell you to sort of fit in, like that you should try harder to fit in and that you should try harder to act. Like for me, it was a very, especially like in the 90s, right? It was a very like, this is how girls behave, and you
Yeah.
either get to fall in the like traditional girl category or the I'm not like other girls category. And I didn't cleanly fit either of those bills. So I always kind of felt like I was straddling two worlds, and figuring out like where I'm supposed to fit in and how I'm supposed to function when I liked hair and makeup, but I also wanted to play with Lego. Like I didn't understand why I had to choose. I still don't, and I still hate when people suggest that to people. I want everybody to have this like authentic life experience, I guess, than I was entitled to when I
Hmm.
was growing up.
I can vibe with that so much. I feel like if we were in the same class, I would have gravitated towards you because I was that kid that was so, I was like a closeted kid and so very quiet, kept to myself. And I always gravitated towards girls in my class that were like outspoken. And because I felt like they almost represented me in a way. And so I look at that and I'm like, yeah, we would have been friends.
Yeah. I feel like we would have. It's one of those things. I mean, I will say like I don't think I was I don't have a lot of friends from high school. I grew up in a small town and then I kind of moved away. And my parents moved away because we're not from we're immigrants, so like it was just us, and so it was easy for like everybody to get up and go, and then it's hard to kind of stay in touch. I think it was tough being a kid in a small town, and I think it was like maybe sometimes I wasn't the best version of myself, and I'm just really glad that now I feel like I am, and I get to be that person all the time.
There's a lot of that energy in the world right now where people are finally, especially our generation, where we're coming to terms with, I can just be myself and be a full 360 of, you talked about the Lego versus the makeup, and it does, and that's the thing. It's like it doesn't have to be versus. They
Yeah,
can live simultaneously, and I think that that creates a much more well-rounded
yeah.
human.
So my business partner's older than me. He's like an older brother. Like we really like there's definitely like a generational gap, and he's the best. He really is. But we have these moments, and I talk about like I said, it took me a long time to kind of find my footing in law in particular, and like figure out a firm where I was like excited and I felt support, and I did at my last. I want to be clear that like our starting our firm isn't because I didn't feel that way before. But I always said to him like the cost of conforming is too high, and he always took it to mean like the financial cost, and I had to explain to him in the forming of the culture that we're building, and sort of the team. I said, no, it's not about the money cost, it's about the energy cost, it's about the like the cost to your self-esteem, it's about how you. And so like and so he has start I've noticed him starting to say like, oh yeah, the cost of worrying about that is too
I
high.
love
And I'm
that.
like, yes. I'm like, I got you. You are internalizing this notion that, like, yeah, not living your authentic self and getting to be your full self everywhere you go, like the emotional toll that that takes, it's just too high. There's no coming back from that. You cannot produce the same way if you, and not that production is the be all end all, but like you cannot put as much into your life if you can't bring all of yourself to the table.
1,000%. I think our first meeting, I got that right away from you because I'm a very much a person, what you see is what you get. No matter if I'm in a business meeting, I'm talking to somebody on the street, I'm doing the podcast, I'm whatever at home with my family. I'm generally like 95% the same across the board because at this point, I'm 37. I don't have time to do all the bullshit because I also know that I'm not putting anything bad out into the world. We're not doing anything that is detrimental to others. We're just being ourselves while trying to carve out a new path for, as entrepreneurs, right? To
Yeah.
me, I'm like, why do it elsewhere? And I loved that in our first meeting, once again, going back to, I'm meeting lawyers. Like I've never worked with lawyers before and through the business and through my work. And day one, I was like, oh, we're good. This is going
Yeah.
to be great.
Yeah, it is a sadly rare perspective in law, and I've been very clear about like we're not gatekeeping anything. Like if any other lawyer ever asked, like I would give them everything. I would tell them how I calculate how I pay people. I would tell them like what we do for software. Like I tell people everything that they want to know. Sometimes I tell them things they don't wanna know. That is sadly kind of rare, and I wish more people embraced that and that, like, you get to, but law is really traditional and it's very cookie cutter, and there's a lot of pressure on you to follow a specific path, and if you don't, and if you fall off the track, like, there is no way to get back on is kind of the messaging that you get a lot of times, and I just wish that people didn't have to feel that way, and that there are better, that people got to hear from lawyers earlier in their careers. Any practice of law where you take your job seriously is valid. I personally just choose not to take myself that seriously,
Yeah.
but just like if you take the work seriously and if you're serious about helping people, that's what matters. So
So you talked a little bit about working previously to the law firm and some potential not so great jobs. Can you share a little bit about those turning points in your career that shaped how you practice law today?
part of it was I had to put in more work. I think, the way that we talked about sort of how hard it is to find yourself and then be true to yourself when there's like pressure around that. So I had to put in a fair bit of work to get there. But I think the most memorable moment was there was a lawyer at my firm the first time I moved to Kitchener Waterloo, the first firm that I worked at here. And due to some interpersonal things, we didn't get to work together a lot. And then she started up a female lawyers group in town, and I joined, and she started a mentorship program, and she actually assigned herself as my mentor. And I was a little anxious because I was worried that we weren't going to get along, and that there's still a lot of like competition among women, especially in law. Like you
Mm,
feel like there's only room for one at the top, which is so stupid.
mhm.
But that was the reality. And I was super anxious. And then I remember our third meeting as mentor mentee, we were getting along super well, and I just started talking about my frustrations at the firm that I worked at. And by like 20 minutes into it, I was just like crying at our lunch table at a restaurant that no longer exists. But it was like, and this poor Cynthia was like, this, she was like, um, I think that you need a new job. I think that you fundamental and she said she was like, "I think that you have a fundamental misalignment in how you practice law. And it's okay to have a difference in like some things in life, but you have to at your core see what you do in law." I don't know if you can see my dog. He's now walking around behind me.
I
Um,
can't. This is all I
oh,
see right now.
no, he's lying down. But she just kind of said like you have to have a fundamental agreement about how you see law, and you see it as a service that people should be able to get to build something, and that where you work, your boss does not see it that way. And it's not that they're wrong and you're right, but you cannot continue working in an environment where you don't fundamentally have that core value. You need people around you that agree with that. And that moment was like really, really impactful for me. I'd say that was probably a big one. Another big one was, so when my business partner and I started talking about starting our own firm, I really wasn't sure. And it actually came more out of my enthusiasm for, again, making sure people are living their best lives. And I just kind of had volunteered to say, I will help you with your business planning and like help you build a strategic plan that you're excited about. And then through our discussion, it was really up to me if I wanted to be a part of this, and if I wanted to push it forward, or if I just said, like, I'll just help you with your business
Right.
plan, but I'm out, was kind of the two ways that things could go for me. And I told almost nobody except a friend of mine, again, another mentor. And I had laid out, like, I knew the spreadsheet, right? Like I'm a big spreadsheet person. So I laid out the spreadsheet, and I had laid out the pros and the cons and the pros and the cons, and I had said like, here are all my thoughts on this. And at the end of me talking, she said, do you want my opinion, or do you just want me to be supportive? And I said, no, I want your opinion. I said, I don't even know what you'd support because I'm so torn between these things. And she said, I think you should do it. I think you absolutely, she was like, hands down, no qualms. This is what you should do. It is the right thing for you. You will be amazed at how quickly things happen for you. And it just felt like, yeah, like suddenly, like it just unlocked me realizing, like, yeah, okay, like I don't need to be afraid. Like this is the thing that I have to do. So, surprisingly, I guess now that I think about it, it's been like mentors, women who have said, no, like you have to sort of ask yourself what you really want and then do that without being afraid. And that's where and that's kind of, I think, how I ended up here, is like having that support and having people that were really helpful in that.
This might sound cheesy, but I'm genuinely curious to kind of pick this apart. But for you, having that support from these women in your life, what was the thing that finally got you to stop being afraid and just to say, like, I'm just gonna do it?
I don't think I'm not afraid. I think I'm still afraid a little bit. But I think that that was such a small piece of my, I think it was that my excitement for it and my energy for it became so strong, and my realization that like I think it was that I had this moment where I realized like the only things that I was giving up to do this were things that didn't matter. And that, I think that was like when I thought about what really mattered to me, it was the opportunity to build something great. And knowing that that was the opportunity, I was like, oh, okay, so then I'm good. I'm really fortunate. As I said, my husband's also a lawyer. So like financially, I'm protected. I could afford to take a risk in on that front of things, but I think I just realized I was so excited for it, and that the only thing that would be holding me back is like fear, and that's not enough. Like this need for security, and that's not enough. Like I
Hmm.
think you have to have reasons for doing a thing, not just reasons for not doing a thing.
100%. And I say this all the time. At this point in my life, I'm making sure that I go towards things that excite me. I'm As adults, we are so jaded. The world that we live in, as we see it crumbling around us, it's very easy to lack or to not necessarily find joy. And so, if something is exciting you, why would you ignore that?
I find that, like, I do that all the time. I work with
Oh, yeah.
startups, right, and entrepreneurs all the time, and you can just tell being passionate about something. Like, I don't think that's just, I guess what I'm saying is a million percent agree. What I don't think it's just that that makes you happier, which is important, but it's also like the passion is what makes you successful.
Hmm.
It's the 80/20 rule, right? Like, but you have to dig into the things that you are passionate about, because you'll have more energy for them, because you will find ways to overcome obstacles for the things you are passionate about in ways that you would never find obstacle like ways to overcome obstacles for things that you don't care about, because you don't care about them. Why
Hmm.
would you?
That's the thing. We need that. If we're going to be
Yeah.
leading, in your case, you're leading a team, you have a group of people working with you. You have to have that for them to feel that, because otherwise, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Yeah, I and that's what, like, I think that's what gets us through the hard days. It's everybody's sort of enthusiasm and commitment to the cause.
Hmm.
And as I said, we've grown faster than we expected, and there's been a lot of pressure to sort of accept maybe people that don't 100% fit the vision as a result, or buy into the idea of what we're doing and the core values. And we've just kind of said no, like we've had, and now we've had reminders along the road of why that's the right thing to do. Like we have to stand firm on the things that we on people buying into the vision and the core values and what we're doing here. It's not enough to say, well, they're a good lawyer, or they're a good clerk, or whatever. They have to be committed to this team and what we're doing.
You launched Pulse Law less than 6 months ago,
Yeah,
so like you're new in
I'm
the
so tired.
world. Oh my goodness, I know the feeling. So
Yeah.
less than 6 months ago. So as you and Todd were putting this together and thinking about the vision of the firm, how has that shifted since you've gone public, or solidified since opening the doors?
It's actually shifted not that much. We've been really fortunate. We've been a little bit, there have been things that have been slower, and there are things that have been faster than we were expecting. That's probably the only thing I would say, in terms of that. Like we had really big sights set on new models and new practices and new things. And we do still ask ourselves regularly, like, is this the best? That was a big core thing about starting the firm, was we ask ourselves, and in everything we do, is there a better way to do this? We're not sort of taking the status quo and saying, okay, we're just going to go with that.
Mhm.
We're like, and it's easy to say that about software or like little things that are sort of naturally modernizing, although we are being very aggressive about that part. But it's also that I look at like my processes and my HR manual, like, so I have my like employee manual, and I said, like, okay, this is fine for stage one, but for stage two, this is not what we're doing. We have to scrap this. We have to be more like rational and modern, and not give people a 40-page document that they're not going to read about like how they take vacation days. This is so
Yeah.
stupid. And so that's been like a big part of kind of the process. And it's just realizing that some things take more time. Like I'm a very, like, I get things done. I am determined. Um and yet I am sitting and waiting for the city to give us the permit for our new space, and I've been waiting for a month and a half, and there is nothing I can do to get the city to give me my permit faster. So
Mhm.
that's kind of, I think, the one. But on the other side, like, other things have been really fast. Clients have come, the work has sort of flowed even in the downturn in the economy. The team has really come together and everybody's really bonded really, really well. So I think that that's been a big part of it. The little stuff is like surprising sometimes, but other than that, it's been amazing. I think the only thing we weren't really expecting is sort of the explosion of growth, and what that sort of means to us. That's been the only thing that's been unexpected, but I made a watch band that has, like, my core values on it, like, the core values from our firm, and, like, I still look at it and I'm like, "Yes, I love that I get a reminder every day," and those are still the things that every day I look at it and say, "Is this the best quality work that I can do? Is this the most innovative way that we can do it? And are we making sure that our team and our clients feel supported and like they can be their best selves with this?" So far, so good.
How are you keeping yourself in that headspace? Because I know, like, even with work, when you're constantly thinking about all these things, you're managing so many moving parts. How do you keep yourself kind of in that, okay, let's continue to focus on what are our values and how do we keep the train moving?
For me, it's about committing time to it. I like dedicated time in my calendar. So my business partner is, like, less social than I am. He likes his quiet time, and I've had to be adamant with him about, like, "No, we book basically 2 hours every 2 weeks. We book every quarter, like, a day for ourselves to get through our strategic planning." I have an operations manager, and I've been really adamant that we book time in our calendar to talk about the strategic plan and put together the goals and the next steps in it. Same thing with our financials. Like I have to be very intentional with my time to make sure I don't lose track of those things. And then the other thing is like I have these like emotional checks. Like yesterday I could feel myself getting short with people and I realized that it had nothing to do with them. It was that I was anxious about the amount of time that I had committed to a specific thing. And so I was like, "No, you committed the time. Being anxious about it isn't going to help you now. So take it and then go find half an hour later tonight, like be late to your event, whatever, but take the half hour that you need to deal with whatever is causing your anxiety because no one else deserves that." Um, and I've been really honest. I'd say that's the last thing is like sometimes now, like I manage our business, which means I manage 15 people. So when something's wrong, they come to me all the
Mm,
time. And I'm a lawyer. Those are two full-time jobs. Like I
yeah.
don't, and so what I do sometimes is I go to people and I just say like, "Okay, like, I understand," like, they'll come to me with a problem and I'll say, "Okay, I cannot give you 100% of my energy and my attention right now. Like, are you willing to accept the 50% that I have for you, or do we need to schedule a time where I can genuinely listen the best that I can?" Yeah, and then the last thing is I think my people are my priority. I cannot do this job without my team, and I don't wanna do anything that would ever, sort of damage them, and so I always prioritize them. The rest of it, like, what I do isn't life or death. If the client has to wait another hour for the answer I told him he'd get by 5 PM, fine. Like, my team comes first, always.
So much of what you're saying today is resonating with me and just how no, I'm not being silly. Like it resonates with me so much because how you're talking about, coming from what you were younger to who you are today and how you've managed to deal with your internal landscape and apply that to, just being a better human in your day to day. That has been the narrative in my mind over the last couple of years where I'm like, how do I streamline this incessant noise that is going on and the constant, like, I have to manage so many things. And so hearing you say that, I'm like, I'm not alone. I'm not alone.
Yeah, you're not. Like it that no, you're not. We're not. Like this is and the way that society has been built means that it's not getting better anytime soon.
Hmm.
And it sucks that it's incumbent on us to like find ways to cope better. But they are there and you have to find them. I am really fortunate. I feel like I don't say that enough that I don't like lucky because I don't think it's luck, but I do think I am fortunate that I have the supports that I have in my life. I have the friends and the family that I have and the coworkers that I have. And without them, it would be much harder to do this um, anyway, but especially the way that we're choosing to do it. So I think I'm lucky that I'm fortunate that I have the people that I have to support me in this. And there are days where it's hard, like, you just can't
Of
you
course.
gotta be I think the biggest thing is you gotta be I remind myself all the time, I have to be nicer to myself. I have to sort of say, "Okay, like, Ree, that's not" yeah, like, you're being mad at yourself because you spent 15 minutes, like, scrolling. No, you're entitled to that time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if I wouldn't yell at my mentee about it, I can't yell at myself about it. That actually so I tend to use that as my thing is, like, if I wouldn't be mean to a friend about it, like, I can't be mean to myself about it. What's the
What are we doing?
yeah.
Yeah, I feel you on that. There's so many times where I think about the amount of, oh, like Gio, you're like my therapist. Like you're so kind and you have such good views on, how to separate work and life and this. And but then the feedback I get, especially from my boyfriend who we live together, he's like, you're not good to yourself. You treat yourself like and I'm like, I know.
It's so easy to, like, fall into it. It really
Hmm.
is, but you gotta be and that's the thing is I think we're just all so much more comfortable being mean to ourselves than we are
Mm,
other people. Well, I think good people are more comfortable being mean to themselves than other people. Some
not
people
true.
should feel less comfortable being mean to other people. Uh,
Yeah.
present company excluded, but you know what I mean.
we we
But
know we know
yeah,
them.
yeah. But I think that's true, right? Like we have to find ways to be nicer to people, and I've chosen to hijack it by thinking like, if I wouldn't be this mean to my friend, why would I be this mean to myself?
A lot of the conversation we've been having is around how your approach to law is you want to kind of differentiate yourself from that traditional old school way. And so you've talked about rethinking like how law firms operate and specifically with Paul's and including alternate fee structures. So like why is this important and how do you hope that this will change the industry?
Lawyers are expensive, and there's a reason for that. Like it costs a lot of money for me to keep my lights on, and it took a lot of time and a lot of energy for me to become the expert that I am in what I do. And I'm not shy about that. Like I've told many clients, I am not the cheapest solution to your problem, but I'm the best one. And that's all well and good if people can afford it. There are lots of reasons why people can't afford it. As we talked about earlier, accessible legal services is really important to me. The fact that I want people to be able to feel like they can pick up the phone and call, or at least like get help even when they're strapped for cash or they're struggling or whatever it is, right? Startups' cash flow is crazy. Like they don't always have money. Um, and so, but they still deserve the best quality of legal services. I think I said early in this process like, we're really in Kitchener-Waterloo, we have world-class talent. When I sit in meetings with my clients, the lawyers on the other side from me, the companies they are negotiating with are the giants in Silicon Valley and New York and Europe and like and Asia and they get these lawyers on the other side of the table that cost $2,000 an hour US, right?
Mm,
Um, and my clients deserve the same quality of service, and they will build something better if they have the same quality of service. There's only so much I can do to make my legal fees cheaper. And again, I said I think that I'm worth the amount that I charge per hour, but there are other things that will make that legal services more accessible, right? So if as a business owner, you know what you're expecting on a month-to-month basis from us, if you know that a specific project is going to cost a specific amount, right? So subscription services are based on the idea that there's a bunch of stuff built into them, but the biggest thing is that you know how much you're going to pay per month for the services, and that you might fluctuate over the year of how much you need us, but the services are there for you at a fixed rate, and you can budget for it accordingly. And there's built-in sort of services to automate certain things to make sure that you're getting the things you need at a fairly economic
mhm,
rate at that. And then on the flat rates and stuff, like you have to know how much you're paying for stuff. I wouldn't go and buy a car and then have and accept an answer from the dealer that was like, well, you'll find out how much you pay for it a month after driving it. That's not right. That's not an
mhm.
answer. sometimes it is hard for us to say exactly how much stuff's going to cost, but a lot of times it's relatively easy. And at least I should give you a sense and a
Yeah.
warning when things are going to get out of control, right? Like you've got to know when these things are coming. People are really bad at having uncomfortable conversations. I'm not. And I think that that helps a lot. That no, it really, but that's the reality. Like a
Yeah.
lot of lawyers are like, ooh, uncomfortable. Oh, no one wants to talk about money. Oh, everybody wants the cheapest thing possible. I don't believe that. I don't believe people want the cheapest solution. I think they want the best one they can afford, and it's just a question of making it affordable. So, yeah, to me, those are like really important building blocks of the notion of making our services accessible. That's the core of it.
And so how has that been received so far?
So far, so good. It's been a little bit, the subscription model in particular, it's based on some back-end software that we're developing.
Mhm.
So that's just been a little bit slower to get going than we ideally wanted. The first kind of 6 months has really been, well, the first 3 months were exclusively basically taking the work we were doing at our previous firm and sort of transferring it to a new firm and getting things like a traditional thing up and running more or less.
Mhm.
And not all traditional, but like our base services, they had to get up and running. And now we finally have a little bit more time, and I'm hoping in the next 3 months I have a lot more time to dedicate to it. But so far everyone's really excited. Like in general, people want more flat rate quotes and they've wanted them for years. People want more transparency and expectation of their costs, and I think as we successfully build those into things like our website and our processes and just our communications with clients, I know that people will accept them really, really well.
Do you see that being something that you could own the IP and potentially like not I don't know if the term franchise it out, but like have that be something where
Yeah,
you
yeah, so yes is the answer, and that is part of, I guess what I will say is we're primarily busy being lawyers and running a law firm, and so I don't think either of us has like sat down and been like, here's the business case and here's the like model and here's where we'd make the most money. That's not really what it's designed to do. But we do think there's a market out there for, like, a lot of my clients come to me and say, well, I did the first draft of my agreement in Chat GPT, and I'm like, there's a better option that isn't paying me $3,000, but is also not accepting the $50 a month subscription Chat GPT and what they tell you, right? There's a middle
yes.
ground there. And so I think there is a model for that. And I think that there's maybe a business case for making that happen. It's not our only priority. Our priority is our clients and the work that we do.
Mhm.
But we hope that we can find a way to sort of blend those together to do something that will help people.
What are your thoughts on people who cut and paste their contracts together from the internet? Like I'm sure a lot of people do it.
Yeah, they do, and it's been like, so people before ChatGPT, people still copy and pasted and sent me contracts that they got from somewhere or whatever. Like, there's a lot of I work with a lot of tech companies. There's a lot of buzzwords, right? Like I've been hearing them for a decade. That's the reality of the game. But I think people think they're saving themselves more time and energy than they are. I love efficient. I'm really into efficiency. I love anything that I think will like make me more efficient. I'm so into it as a concept. And then so like I'm crazy efficient in the things that I know I can do, like if with that don't involve sort of a back and forth with another side. I'm so efficient. And so I think people bring me these Chat GPT contracts, and I'm like, okay, guys, like it takes me 2 hours to review a contract you sent me. So it takes me a half hour for you to explain to me what you're trying to do. Then it takes me 2 hours to review the contract, and against what a quality contract looks like, and fix it. And then I have to spend 30 minutes to an hour fixing it, and then I send it to you with the notes, right? And then you have it. It takes me half an hour to understand what you want, and then about an hour to customize my version of that contract.
Okay.
And that's not always the case. To be fair, like I was on the phone this morning with someone, and I will edit their Chat GPT contract. They admitted that's where they sent it to me from, but that's okay. But that is kind of, but people I think that like, oh, these shortcuts sort of help. And sometimes they do. I go to Chat GPT, I go to Perplexity, like I go to these things. I go to Ask Todd, which is our internal chatbot. That's the one that we have,
Hmm.
that we're working on sort of developing more aggressively. But I go to those things for specific things. But sometimes you think you're saving time, you think you're helping yourself, but you're really not. And my big thing is like, I don't, as a second year lawyer, someone came to me and said, like, well, I hope you're the best at this because you're certainly not the cheapest. And I said to them, you're welcome to go to the cheapest lawyer that you find to do this work instead. And you can come back and pay me twice as much to fix it when you're done. And that's kind of the like, I just see it that way as like, either you do it right the first time, or you have to pay somebody more to fix it down the road, and nobody wants that.
100%. I say that all the time with my own services because I'm also not the cheapest. And I think about people being like, oh, I can get it done cheaper. I can do it myself. Especially now with AI, they're like creating their own logos and this. I'm like, okay.
Sure.
And then, yeah. And then I'm like, come back to me later.
I
Well,
no, like, yeah, and like, we could not have ever created a logo that we love as much as the one that you created for us. We couldn't have come up with the name without Snow Collective, right? Like, we just could not have done these things.
mhm,
We tried, like, we spent 3 months trying to pick a name.
yeah.
Um, and then we joke that, like, we mostly paid a marketing company $30,000 to pick a name for us. That's not true, obviously, but, like, that's kind of where we were 3 months in. We were like, "Well, this is why lawyers just name their law firms after themselves because it's
Hmm.
exhausting."
Yeah.
And that's yeah, it's just you absolutely can do something that if everything breaks right, will be fine.
Yeah.
But, like,
100%.
how much are you willing to in what I ask is how much are you willing to gamble that all of it's gonna break right?
Like I said, I'm on the same page. So you mentioned a little bit about our collaboration on the brand, which honestly for me, I had such a good time working on it. I don't know about you, but I it was
Oh,
such
I'm so
a
glad. Yeah,
it
we
was
had a
such
great time.
what was it like for you building a brand that reflects your ethos as lawyers?
It was really fun, for me. I'm a big planner and a big, like, I like and I love an aesthetic thing. So for me personally, it was really fun. It was great. I love and I feel like there's like a real like every time I look at like our colors or our logo or even just our like name and stuff, I get really excited about our fonts, Geo, just so you know. Like I'm like I like often like I have the like where I've saved our brand Bible, like, and then I go and look at it and like
Oh.
I get like excited about our fonts. We were trying to fix our templates in Outlook and I was trying to see if we could use our special fonts in our emails. So
Mhm.
far no luck, but we're working on it.
It's
Uh
so
I know.
tough.
But like anyway, but this is the so like we've been having like no, I loved it. Like I really like it. I really care about that stuff. I'm one of those people who watched like the Netflix documentary on Helvetica. Like I love all of those things. And the other thing for me has been like getting to sort of secondhand watch my partner get excited about it because like he's a Gen X like dude that like hasn't thought about like he doesn't really care about the aesthetics.
Yeah.
He's not super into it. For him, it was like a very perfunctory kind of thing, and for him to get like excited about it was like really fun. And the I think the best example of that was with the logo. He was like, "Yeah, I like this logo. This one's my favorite." And then like 30 minutes later, I get another email being like, "Yeah, I think it's like really cool and like whatever." And then like the next day, he was like, "There's like really cool animation options or like different coloring options for the logo." And I'm like, "Yeah, buddy." And so like every time, like you just come back and be like more and more excited about it. And like the color scheme. And then I will say the other thing is like it was so fun and I feel like our color scheme is just like this like great warm shift from
Mhm.
what you see on a lot of law firms and what you see in a lot of corporate environments. Like I feel like I see a lot of like purple and cobalt blue and like I like that color, but like I don't but just like getting this warm shift in our color scheme really felt like symbolic of what we are trying to do as a firm. And that was really great.
That's the thing I love is especially because you guys came to me and said, okay, we're a law firm. We don't want to stray too far, but we also don't want to look like everybody else. I hear that and I think, okay, like we're gonna try and push this a little bit further than the traditional. Anybody who knows me from my early days, geographic is I'm all about standing out. Like that is my thing. I don't want to look generic. And so when it came to you guys, I said, even if you gave me like a 10%, like we're open, I'm like, we're going for it because what are
Yeah.
we doing here? The world is so full of like carbon copies. Let's stand out. And even just from your energies, that to me, that's why I go through that whole process at the beginning of what do you want out of this? Who are you? What is your platform? What are you standing on that makes you do the things you
Yeah.
do? It's a symbiotic process for me. And so I'm just so thankful that you guys loved it. I love it. I love to have that out in my portfolio too. So
I have like our logo on my phone. I like have it everywhere. And
I
people
love
are
it.
always commenting on it and how great they think it is. So
Oh, that warms my heart. It just once again, it's like when you with your clients, like I feel like I not that I need the validation, but I am in the right spot. I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Not to make this about
you
me, but
are no, you are like, don't get me wrong, the process was great and
Mhm.
like every step of it was necessary, but you were our favorite part.
Oh, thank you. That's so that's so kind. I appreciate it. And same with you guys, honestly. Like I love people who are just authentically themselves. And so this is an aside, but I'm gonna say this, whatever. First time I met you, the deadpan, like I was like it took me a minute to like
Oh, yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
to
Yeah,
and then
I
I was
know.
like, "Oh," but then it was that immediate that initial like, "Okay, I don't know if is she vibing with me? Like what's the I can't tell." And then once I got a sense of it, I'm like, "Oh, I love this woman. She's like everything that I
That's
feel
very
inside."
sweet. I don't sorry, am I allowed to swear on this?
I literally open with what
Oh,
the
great. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, right, okay. So, like, yeah, so, like, so that's a combination of 2 things. 1, my dad is British, and my humor is, like, very, very flat,
obsessed.
and then 2 is, like, I have terrible resting bitch face. I really do. I was like my parents were visiting last weekend, and we were, like, making friendship bracelets, and I there's a part where you have to super glue something together, and every time I was, like, sitting and super gluing something together, my mom would, like, look at me and be like, "What's wrong?" Because I just looked so, like, so cold, apparently. Um, yeah, it's like a weird I know. I have a
I
when
love
I
it
first
though.
meet people, I'm fairly different, and then my sense of humor is not for everybody.
No, I love it, honestly. Like I said, it was that initial because also I'm gauging you through a screen. Like I've never met you
Yeah.
in person. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I can't tell if she's like if she, not that I need you to like me, but I couldn't tell. And then once we got into it, I was like, oh, I fully understand. And I'm like, I love this woman.
Yeah, and well, and there's a lot of like for me, a lot of it was also about making sure that like my partner was happy and that
Yes.
he was fine because this is much more my environment than his.
Hmm.
So I constantly have to be like, come into the conversation.
Hmm.
Would you like to express some thoughts? Why don't you share the thing? So it's just not his natural, like
A
as I said,
hundred.
right? He's just not as outgoing as me. So like it's not his most natural environment. So
Hmm.
it's more about, like, making sure to me, that first meeting was, like, about being like, "How do we engage you more? Because
Like
I will engage as soon as as soon as things get going." So,
we need to hang out like in person outside of a work thing because I feel like we would just be able to shoot the shit and it would be such a good vibe.
yeah. Well, I don't know if you know, like, that's how Dan and I met at, like, a work thing at like, at a mixer for professionals, like, in tech,
Hmm.
and we just and, like, the event was fine, but kind of weird, and I just was like and he kinda just was like, "Oh, I'm relatively new to KW, wouldn't mind some making friends," and I immediately was like, "Yes, we're now best friends. That's the deal. Like, we're not like I was like, sorry if you had other plans, but this is now the plan. We are now
Yes.
best friends." And that's the like you find your people, right? Like
Hmm.
and you have to hang on to that. So
100%. I find so Dan has met so many people in my life. Like he's come down to Windsor area. He's met my family. Like we go back. We met at a conference 7 years ago or whatever, and we actually just went back to that conference for the first time last week. And it was
oh
such
yeah.
a full circle moment where it was like we met at that conference 6 years ago. We've been working together ever since, and now we're going together as like partners in
Yeah.
in business I always find he's met so many of my friends and vice versa, and we keep good people in our lives. And so if you guys are friends, I'm like, we're gonna make something happen at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I went to law school in Windsor, so I don't get
Oh
back as much as
shoot!
I should, but like I do, yeah, I very occasionally visit. So
When were you living here?
2010 to 24, or sorry, 2011 to 24, no, 2010 to 2013. That's when
Okay,
I
yeah, I
went
was
to
in
law school.
Toronto, so
Yeah.
we wouldn't have crossed paths. But I want to ask you a little bit. So outside of work, you had mentioned a little bit about we talked about like mental health and your recent discovery, not discovery, but learning about ADHD. What has that journey looked like for you, and like how's that influenced how you lead and how you live your life?
I was always an anxious kid. You know, with women with ADHD, it often is misdiagnosed as anxiety, but I'm also really high functioning and very smart. And what happened was then all my best friends got diagnosed or obviously had ADHD, and COVID hit, and all of my sort of coping and management had to be completely upended. And I had finally started going to therapy regularly enough that my anxiety was coming down, and some of my symptoms were getting worse. And I realized, like, oh, and then literally I saw a meme that was like, hey, neurodivergent people tend to travel in packs. So if all of your friends have been diagnosed with ADHD, guess what?
Mm,
And, and so I talked to my therapist about it, and she was like, oh, yeah, you should get tested. And I was like, "Ah," and I will say, like, as a woman, I've had difficulty. I've sort of paused my testing and my formal diagnosis path. As a high functioning, like as a person who's really high functioning and very has excellent coping mechanisms, I'm crazy organized. Um, and so like I've had a really hard time getting people to take it seriously. My sister-in-law has sort of a traditional case of ADHD, very active, difficulty sitting still, difficulty like sitting down to read things. But like, if you get good grades and are a girl, then they like nobody believes you that you have ADHD. And like
hmm
nobody, if you have a job like this that requires piles of reading, nobody realizes that like that could be a thing that you are suffering from. Um, and even my close friends who were diagnosed, it took them a while to sort of acknowledge that that could be true for me, because they were like, oh well, if you have ADHD, then like I don't, because it's so you're so like I could never do what you do. I don't understand how
Yeah.
you could also have ADHD. Like it must be very different from mine. And I said, like, do you ever wonder why all my friends, like, why though I'm so good at helping you? Like, don't you wonder why all my friends have ADHD and why I'm so this friend that I was with, like, we'd gone shopping to the mall together a couple weeks before that. And she's like, well, you're like, I'm always walking around with like armfuls of stuff that I forgot because I forgot to get a basket. And she's like, "You always have a basket. Like, you always think of that." And I said, "Yeah,
Mm.
it's because my anxiety is higher than my ADHD. That's the problem, right?" So what
Yeah.
happens is I walk into the store and I have this like moment of being like, "Oh my God, if I don't go get a basket, then I'm gonna drop all my shit." Like, and
hmm
then it's gonna be embarrassing. So I go get a basket. And so that when you were walking around with your armfuls of, I had also picked up a basket for you, right? That was the thing. And
hmm
so as it turns out, I just have great coping mechanisms and I'm super organized. And so I'm like, oh, I might have ADHD, which is very funny because my business partner immediately was like, of course you have ADHD. I don't understand why anybody doesn't believe
Yeah.
you. I don't understand why anybody would argue with you on that topic. Like he was like, you are an obvious case. I don't understand how anyone would disagree with that fact.
hmm
And so like it's kind of funny that it's been a big thing. Um, and I think it's just made me a little bit more cognizant and a little bit better at like managing um when people might be struggling and seeing that in other people, and just sort of getting better at being a bit more flexible as a leader about what motivates people, and sort of seeing and accommodating, not I hate the word accommodating because it makes it sound like there's like something that needs to be adjusted
Yes.
to make people more whatever, and that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that like there are great things that come with being neurodivergent, and there should be ways to sort of tap into that, and that you accept that what that means is just like you're not as good at some other things, right?
you talked about being less, cruel to yourself and being more, but how do you accommodate these pathways for yourself that are maybe not necessarily like everybody else to living your life?
I'm a lawyer, so my immediate response was go read books. There's like specific suggest I do this in all parts of my life, not just sort of with the ADHD, but like there are specific suggestions for how you cope, motivate yourself to do things differently, and I've tried to kind of internalize those. I keep sort of a motivation chart like on I have like a pin board behind my laptop. And so like I keep a chart there that's like if you are struggling with motivation, which of these parts are you struggling with? And then go do this. Right. And so like I try to sort of use those tips and tricks to be more accommodating, to be more to just sort of follow things. I
Mhm.
personally have found simply understanding where my struggles are coming from very helpful. So, like, instead of feeling like, oh, I'm just lazy, oh, I cannot be motivated enough, oh, I can't, like, it's not enough of me to do the thing. I'm like, no, there's a different factor here that is manageable, that is causing whatever the unwanted or unintentional behavior is.
As it's becoming very much a part of the zeitgeist, let's say the conversation around ADHD, you talking about it, I have friends who've been diagnosed, and the more I hear about, especially the high functioning aspect, it
Yeah.
resonates with me. I'm not self-diagnosing, but the more I hear about it, I'm like, this sounds familiar. These coping mechanisms, how.
Yeah, and like I don't know, I found that I was sort of self coping in a lot of ways that I didn't realize I was, and there were things that I was doing. The other thing is, my sibling's partner was talking about that they didn't realize things that they did weren't normal, and the more authentically and the more genuine, like the more I surround myself with people that I love and trust, right, the more I can be honest about the things I do
Yes.
and then hear them say like that's not normal. um and so like I don't have anything this bad, but my sibling's partner said that like they used to come home from like a day at work and then literally spend an hour sitting in the dark disassociating. And it's like, yeah, that's not like the average person doesn't spend a whole hour just sitting in the dark staring at a wall, right? That's
Hmm.
not. And so like if you're doing that, it's because something has depleted in you, right? That is unusual. And you just have to modify either how that's depleting or how you cope with it to be a little less like depressing.
Yeah.
And so that I think to me that's a big thing is like you just kind of have to like realize it's like, oh, okay, it's everything's fine. You just have to I just have to make some adjustments. There's no, yeah. Like so I'll give an example because I think this one's really important. You all I read so many books because again, I love productivity and efficiency. So I read so many books about productivity and efficiency and all these things. And there's so much advice that says like it's like the eat the frog advice where it says like do the hardest thing first, just get it out of the way, and
Mhm.
then your life is easier. And I could never do it. And I could not understand why. And I thought like, oh, I'm not trying hard enough. I'm not doing this thing. I'm not whatever.
Mhm.
No, as it turns out, if you have ADHD, you're supposed to do the exact opposite, is do little tasks
Little
to get
tasks
your little dopamine hits until you are like a rolling little
in the
ball.
flow.
And then it's like, yeah, sure, like load me up with that 60-page like MSA. I got this. Um and so just like that one thing to be like, no, go look at your checklist. I keep a very organized to-do list. Go look at your to-do list. Go like pick two things that you can check off in the next 5 minutes and just go do them. Um, and then it's like, oh yeah, okay. So that even just little things like that where I've sort of flipped how I think about how I motivate myself, huge difference.
100%. That's how I operate. I'm the same where if I have a list, it's the little things. Let me just, because then those are easy. Just scratch them off and then move on. And then you get in that flow. So once
Yeah.
again, maybe I need to do some looking into this, but because I'm very
I,
much
l- One of my cousins is a psychiatrist, and I called him about it just to get some advice about how I should deal with diagnosis and stuff. And he just kind of said like, yeah, that's totally fine. He said like, to be fair, a lot of our society now sort of has this top down thing where it's eroding our executive function skills and like all these things. So these kinds of tips help everybody. But I would say again, it's a you tend to travel in packs of dysfunctional wolves. So if all your best friends have ADHD, I have news for you. Right? Like I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I hear loud and clear.
Yeah,
Yeah, I definitely have to do some digging, but I'm just
that's fine.
so thankful that you took time out of your busy schedule to do this with me. Like, this means so much. I know you're a busy human, and anytime anyone says yes to being part of my little project, it means the world to me. Honestly, you have no idea.
Oh, I no, I thank you, but like I really isn't I don't think that I deserve that much thankfulness about it. I'm really happy to be here. This has been really great, and I find this like a really great I'm a very social creature, and for me, getting to spend time talking to people and getting to know people and sort of like these kinds of conversations really invigorate me. So, thank you for letting me be here.
Good, I'm glad. I ask every one of my guests this at the end of each episode. And you can take this professionally, personally, however you want. But if you were to look at your life and kind of do like a Google Earth view of it, what would you say is the most on brand thing about you?
I think it's probably my ability to go from like 0 to 60 in like
Hmm.
no time flat about things that I'm excited about. I think like professionally, I worked very hard to become a partner at a big, fancy international law firm. And then having to sit my parents down less than a year after making partner and say, I'm leaving to start my own firm, which I know I told you guys a decade ago I would never do, but guess what? That's what we're doing. Like that was like, and then like now I'm functionally a managing partner, which is sort of a relatively high up position. And so like going from sort of associate to my own little managing partner in a year is probably the most like I was just like, nope, that's what I'm doing. We're doing the thing. No more follow-up questions. Just gonna get it done. That is my most on brand like nature.
Have you ever done your human design chart?
No, I don't know what that is.
Okay, so I don't know if you're like into like all the woo woo stuff, but the way you're describing it, and even just us talking about our like how we go about things are very similar. Part of me thinks I'm like I feel like you would be look into it. Okay, you can do it for
Okay.
free, and I'll send you the link. And basically, you sound like a manifester. And so what that is basically like how you operate, like your energy cycles, how you work. So, but you know how you're describing your like you get bursts of energy, and I did mine, and it reads like how you operate in like business and how you operate as a human in your day to day, and like you get bursts of energy, and then you need rest. And so the way you're describing how you work, I'm like, just look into it. Just I'm curious to see what would come up, and it goes based on like specifics to you and your like date of birth and the time that you're born. I'm interested to see what will come up.
Interesting. This is like more of a corporate thing. But have you done the like how to fascinate, like your archetype thing?
No.
So you should check it out. It's like a marketing thing.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting. Like I don't think it's all 100% anyway, but it is an interesting kind of like it's an interesting perspective and it kind of has like seven personality traits versus seven personality trait things. They're not really anyway, whatever. And you sort of like smush them together to like get the thing that you are.
Hmm.
And so I would be curious to hear what
Okay.
yours is because it's an interesting little I found my little report very helpful. I like check it sometimes, particularly in how to communicate with people who have very different strengths and communication styles and goals than I do in relationships. So
Is that the one where it's like red, green, yellow, blue?
But it's like, yeah, it's really, yeah, it's like, anyway, it's interesting. It's fun. I made my business partner do it, and he was like completely at the other end of the little chart. And I was like, this is why we're really good business partners.
A hundred
And we're
percent.
so lucky we do not fight.
Well, that you're hitting two sides of the coin, right?
I told him early in this process because like building a business plan is a lot of work. Like we were spending a lot of time together. And I said it was like my relationship with him feels a lot like my relationship with my best friend from law school, where like we'd always give people would ask her and I questions, and we'd give the same answer, and then people would ask why, and we'd have completely different reasons for why we gave that answer. And that's still the case, is like I just like my reason for the thing is completely different, but my answer is always like our answers are basically always the same. So it's fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, if anybody who's listening wants to reach out to you or connect with you online, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm relatively easy to find, paulslaw.com. But yeah, I like I'm on Instagram, I think as Re Kramer with maybe one E. Oh no, I'm on Instagram as Marvel and Mutts. Because for my dogs and because I like Marvel movies.
Love it.
And then, yeah, yeah, no, I'm pretty easy to find. It's amazing how easy it is to find somebody named Irena Kramer. Like the specific spelling is actually really like unique, I guess. But yeah, most lawyers are relatively easy to get a hold of, including me. So
And to anybody who would like to contact me about any design inquiries, you can reach out to me through geographic.com. Follow the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, leave a comment, rate, subscribe. I'm on YouTube. I would love a review, a comment. Irena, I want to thank you one more time for taking the time to be part of this project, part of the podcast, and we'll talk soon.
thank you so much. Good to see
Bye.
you.